Good morning from cold but sunny Buffalo on this 2025 tax day. I'm Mike Schopp. Our heroes, Jacob, Pat, and Davis, will join me in a moment. First, a shout out to our excellent, great colleague, Zach. He's tied up with a family thing, does the open and the different slides. Best wishes and good health to him and his wife, Callie, and their family. Round one of the NFL draft is 9 days out. We'll check some mock drafts from a few prominent analysts today and see if we like their predictions, not only for their chances of being right, but how it would help us from a fantasy perspective. Also today, Jacob's last week's prescient Tyreek Hill take and what is a boring player. It is Jackie Robinson Day, April 15th, 2025, ADP Chasing with Pat, Jacob, and Davis. I'm Mike. Let's go.
In Underdog Best Ball, ADP is set by two separate yet equally important groups: streamers that set the market and the slappies that chase it. These are their stories.
May I please start with a Jackie Robinson story you may like?
Of course.
So I used to host on my...
You guys went to high school together?
Already? Yeah, that's right. On my radio station in Buffalo, I used to host a card show on Saturday mornings called The Hobby. And Bulldog, Pat's a big Bulldog guy, my daily co-host. I was showing him once how like an auction site worked. And here was this auction for a 1952, the seminal top set Jackie Robinson card, graded 8 out of 10. Like, it's a month-long auction, but I'll just put a bid in here to show you how it works, a minimum bid, and no way it wins. Then a month goes by and it wins, $8,000. I'm invested on this card. I had no intention of buying, had no money for, whatever. So I get home, tell my wife, good thing her mother was here, that softened the blow. I've just bought an $8,000 baseball card. Hi. So the idea, I put the money together. I rented a bank safety deposit box for this card. I had thoughts of like, this will be my son's graduation present someday. I'm going to, own this card and be happy about it. So years go by. We bought a new house. COVID happens and card prices spike. Right. It goes nuts. Like everybody sort of wants to put their money into something else. They can't go out. So I sell my Robinson for 13 grand. I think it was. Had to. I was mixed about it because it was, if you can get 50% profit on anything, you'll take it. But, I was sort of missing it. And 6 months later, it sold for $250,000.
That is not where I thought it was going. So, Mike, I thought you were going to go, and now cards are worth fuck all, so I bought it for $3,000 last week.
Here's a 54.
But for real, though.
Here's a 54. Just, I saved some of my collection anyway. 54 Robinson. Mike. It's okay. It's still, don't you have to take the 50% every time. It's fantasy relatable. It's fantasy adjacent. You just, sometimes you make a dynasty trade and the guy goes off.
A profitable trade you can never be upset about because it all comes around. In the end, it all kind of comes around.
I'm pumped I traded Puka Nacua for a 25-second after.
Yeah, that was a good decision.
That was a good decision. I was right about that. That's a win for me.
That's more than I paid. That's just math.
That's right. I have one friend who every time I see him is like, "Oh, that Robinson! Like, you have to do that every time. Come on."
Oh, God.
But anyway,
there's my dad is a newspaper writer, does feature stories, and he did one on a guy who had a Wayne Gretzky rookie card, and he had a bunch of rookie cards, but he has this tabletop hockey collection, which is why my dad did the story. And on the little tabletop hockey games, he would cut out player faces and then put them on the little guys.
Oh no!
For each of his games.
Oh no!
And so
like
he did this with a Wayne Gretzky rookie card. So he has a Wayne Gretzky rookie card that would be worth like thousands of dollars, but the face is cut out of the middle and put onto one of the guys on his tabletop hockey game.
Wow,
that is one of the most painful things I've ever heard in my life.
It's way worse than mine.
That is like the guy who about every 6 months there's this guy in the Bitcoin community who probably had what is now 1.5 billion of Bitcoin, but he had it on a laptop that he threw away, and he will routinely, it'll pop up, he'll be like, oh, I paid everyone to go to this like landfill and go and try and find this old laptop. Like that's like a similar thing.
Wow. Plus Jacob is Canadian, so maybe his dad is too, and that's an O-Pee-Chee card, not a Topps card, which is way better.
Oh
yeah, my dad is Canadian, that's true.
Is that where did he grow up, or where was he living at the time of all this?
Winnipeg, Manitoba. I mean,
Winnipeg.
We're talking pre-show about if you meet a girl in St. Louis, it seems like Winnipeg has a similar effect on people. He's there for all 63 years of his life.
I'm still stuck on the Gretzky story. The thing about that one that really gets me is because it's out of love for hockey. You know, he destroyed. It's like the Bitcoin one. You feel bad, but he just like didn't care about it and he threw it away. But like the Gretzky, it's like I love this game so much that I'm gonna create a realistic table hockey. To do it, I'm gonna destroy this card. That's gonna be a ton.
I did not go to high school with Jackie Robinson, but I'm old enough that card collecting, we did write on cards. Like I have a 78. Well, I used to a 78 rows. My first year collecting cards was 78. I was 6, and it was a Reds card. It's kind of iconic. He's got his helmet on, sitting in the dugout, and he got traded to the Phillies and then the Expos or whatever. And I crossed out Reds. Not a super valuable card, but I wrote, in pen Expos over Reds because like that's what you did. I mean, I have cards that I've bought that are older than that where one checklist, for some reason, somebody wrote on it, Jimmy is a crook. We don't know who Jimmy is. We don't know what he did to get that sort of, label stuck to him. But, I've got a 57 Topps checklist with the writing Jimmy is a crook on it.
I have some really funny graded cards down here, but for this show, this is easily the funniest one. This is a Michael Gallup PSA 10 rookie card. I thought this was a really sharp. In fact, I believe I actually paid to get this one graded. Michael Gallup, rated rookie. Just of all the funny ones that I have.
Oh man.
I've got equivalent baseball ones too and basketball ones, but for this show, Michael Gallup is a pretty funny one. I thought that was a really good buy.
10 chasing.
10 chasing. Yeah, people are saying more and more.
Yes. All right.
Harold Fannin coming soon. Harold Fannin PSA
Nice.
10s. Yeah.
Hang on. My turn.
You guys probably don't do this. You guys probably you guys are Jacob, you're too young for card collecting to be a thing at all. And Corain, you might have missed it. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Because you're like 4 or 5 years older than me, so you probably just missed it.
I mean, I have a shit ton of cards because my grandpa just gave me like 2 big boxes when I was like 4. And I remember like it used to be like one of my favorite only child activities, just like thumbing through the different cards and looking at like hockey players' stats from 1984. But
love
something now. I have no
love
idea.
that box. I have that box over in the other room of the ungraded ones, just all just absolutely everywhere.
I have an 83, 84 O-Pee-Chee hockey box, 48 packs, unopened, right behind the screen.
Have you ever been tempted? Who's the big
every day?
83, 84.
It's not great. You still want Gretzky, and there are like 10 Gretzky cards, all the leaders and everything like that. Not Harold Fannin, but this is my grandpa's brother. Ooh. Hey, Grandpa, this is Cliff Fannin. Grandpa watches from South Florida.
Now, is he duck-footed?
Nice.
Or is he pigeon-toed?
Wait, is that real?
I never knew him. I can't
real?
ask. I don't know who that. Yes.
No, that guy's related to this current Harold Fannin.
No, he's related to me.
I doubt it.
Okay.
Oh.
He's my grandfather's brother.
No, yeah, I knew. I knew this
so Mike,
story.
You're related to Harold Fannin?
That's where I thought.
Maybe I am.
Mike,
How do I
duck-footed?
find out? How do I find? No, that I can attest to. I'm not. But
is Duckman a recessive gene?
What skips a generation?
I don't know. We're gonna find out.
Man, everybody says they have no heart out, and this is how we spend the first 10
Yeah,
minutes.
I think
This
we
is classic
need to have hard
ADP
outs. That's the
chasing.
lesson.
big chasing has been putting pressure on me since day one. Make the show longer. So I'm doing my best here.
That's true. Actually, we have. So this is how we stretch it.
All right. Whoever wants to go first here, the draft is in 9 days. How do we feel? What's the most interesting news item right now? Today we have something about the Giants having a second round with Shedeur Sanders.
For our purposes, it's what do you actually believe about all this Shedeur stuff? Because now we've got, he might fall out of the first round. We've got, the Giants are maybe back in. The Saints are now looking pretty primed to select a quarterback at 9. Like, is there smoke? Is there fire? Is Shedeur going to be Geno Smith? Is Shedeur going to be Ryan Nassib? Or is Shedeur going to be Michael Penix? I don't know what to believe. I at this point, frankly, there's been too much information about Shedeur.
To me, the most interesting
the Shedeur stuff. Oh, sorry, Pat, you go.
I think the Saints Carr news is the most interesting thing because they seem to have been aware of it, maybe, and so like when I talked to Nick Arisco like before that news broke, but he was saying he did not think that they were likely to take Shedeur at 9, and like Nick Underhill didn't think they were going to do that. But if they knew, that was only a few days before. So it's like, if they knew about it and there was still like no buzz about Shedeur, are they willing to pass on Shedeur at 9? That to me would tell us a lot. If they might not have a quarterback this year, if they don't just grab him at 9, if he's there, then I feel like anything can happen.
Well, I think there's a lot of things going on. First of all, the Saints thing, I listened to that pod. It was great. And what I got from his name is Nick, right? I just call him Fantasy Law Guy, but his like real life government name is Nick. Yeah. Like he seemed to
he goes by Fantasy Law Guy. So
you're not Fantasy Law Guy? Wait a minute.
Well, that's why I want to use
I know,
Nick.
it's kind of messed up, right?
I feel like it's just a little bit rude. My territory. But
US Fantasy Law Guy.
Yeah. That's true. So it seemed like a lot of his take was based on what Underhill was saying. And I agree with you. Like the fact that they knew anyways should be indicative. But if I've been grinding the Underhill videos every single time he records recently, as I'm sure you are as well. And his tune is totally flipped. Like I
hadn't been grinding Underhill lately. So
like not necessarily about 9 specifically or about Shedeur specifically, but he seems to very much be of the view now that things have changed. The rebuild is here. And the Saints are going to take someone at 9 or 40. So that might not be Shedeur at 9. It might be, it might be Dart. It might be Shug. They apparently really like Tyler Shug.
Suck for Shuck. People are saying it more
so
and more.
It could be Shug at 40. It could be Dart at 40, or it could be Sanders, or maybe Dart at 9. Although that seems less likely. So I think the Saints are in the mix. And the other interesting thing is, as we heard sort of more and more news about Shedeur falling, we also seem to get this news about, Milroe. We talked about he's going to be invited to the draft, and Dart is now also invited to and accepted to go into the draft. So, I listened to that show with Nick /Fantasy Law Guy, and he seemed to be of the view that different teams have different QB2s, and that seems to be getting supported. So it's fascinating where I don't think we know anymore who's going to be QB2, and it seems like all 3 of these guys have a pretty wide range of outcomes. Plus, I guess the Saints like Tyler Shug for some reason.
So the thing that is kind of crazy to me, like, when you're in a fantasy draft, you're in a best ball draft, and you're like, oh, I have to take this guy on this team. You can never take this guy, but you have like Josh Palmer's a dude who I don't take a ton of, but sometimes I'm like, I really need a veteran receiver. I have Allen. I'm going to take Josh Palmer. And then you get sniped on Josh Palmer, and it's like the most horrible feeling because you're like, I don't even want this guy. Okay. I'd never take him, but I needed him here. And now I'm mad that I didn't get him. That's got it. The feeling of when the Saints sit there at 40 and assume they're going to get Tyler Shuck, and that's their whole plan for next year. And then someone else gets him instead. I mean, like, that's definitely going to happen. Don't do that, Saints. It's only going to lead to pain.
Take him at 9.
The most recent thing I saw on Tyler Shuck was I want to say this was Trevor Sikkema, but it might have been a different draft Nick. Maybe it was Norris. They tweeted out a highlight of how good he was at throwaways. They were like, "Oh, no one does a throwaway like Tyler Shuck. He's Aaron Rodgers-y with his ability to generate a clean throwaway." And I was just like, dude, enough. I will be so glad to be done with the Tyler Shuck era of draft analysis. I just don't buy it. I really don't. This dude had no draft hype ever. And then all of a sudden we get bored for 2 months. I would rather be doing Will Howard or Kyle McCord stuff.
What happened to Quinn Ewers?
Sure. I'd rather be doing it with Ewers.
No, I'm thankful. I'm honestly thankful we're not doing this with Ewers. Ewers absolutely stinks. And Shuck at least didn't play much because he was hurt all the time. And he throws a good ball. To me, it's just the thing about tape is that it takes a long time to get to it all. I swear this is what's happening with Kyle Williams. Is that people were like, "Oh yeah, I need to watch him." When they saw Chris Sims at him wide receiver 2, they're like, "Right, I gotta bump Kyle Williams up on my tape watching list." And then all of a sudden, everyone was like, "Yeah, I like Kyle Williams." I don't think everyone had watched him yet, And I think
West
Tyler
Coast.
Shuck, most people hadn't seen. A lot of people had not looked into Tyler Shuck because he's 25, 26 years old and had been hurt his entire career. But Brugler was a big fan the whole time.
Statistics.
Yeah, unimpressive statistics. Yeah. But the some of the guys
no mobility.
No mobility.
Otherwise.
I don't know why people hadn't watched him yet.
Otherwise, on point.
So yeah, I think that story's been consistent this offseason as far as the tape guys go. It seems like most tape guys when they got around to watching him were like, "Oh, this guy's kind of good." So as far as a second,
the Charizard to Tim Boyle's Charmander,
he's Mike Glennon, I think, or something like
17 minutes for the Charizard, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even Davis.
was
Pretty good.
Is that the
for-
right way to do it? I'm really trying to just find my place on this show. I don't know. I don't really know what the
Let me
order
see if I can
was.
find-
Is that the correct
Let me
way?
go find a Charizard. Hang on.
The issue is that to give Charizard this category of player does not have a Charizard, right? The Tyler Shuck, Brandon Whedon, Ryan Nassib group of guys just doesn't. There is no Charizard, right? It kind
is
of
it Russ Wilson? He
Charizard's
was pretty
too
old.
good for them. But he can
no
move.
different. We're thinking
can
tall
move.
white. It's tall white guy. Tall white guy who's at best a day two
Ryan
pick.
Mallett.
Ryan
Brock Osweiler
Mallett.
got paid. Does he count?
Yes,
That's
Brock.
Osweiler.
Yeah,
Brock.
Osweiler
I mean, Brock
definitely
played in a Super Bowl, right? Or an
No,
AFC
Peyton-
Conference
well-
Championship game.
He started a
No,
wild card
Peyton got
game.
reinstalled.
He started a wild card game in was it the Raiders Texans game where Carr got
Correct.
hurt and it was
Against. Does
Matt-
anyone want to play? Remember that guy? Who did the
Matt
Raiders start
McGloin?
in that game? No,
Matt McGloin?
They started
No.
Connor Cook.
Connor Cook. Yes, I knew
Yeah.
it. I knew it.
Didn't Mac McGloin get one of those games though?
Yes,
he got
yes, he
a
did.
start that season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Raiders
What
QBs
about-
for 500?
What about Vinny Testaverde?
No,
Didn't he go
totally
first
off.
overall?
He was
He did?
5'9". He was a little guy.
No, he was
Okay.
not.
How
He
much?
was
No quarterback went 101.
6'5".
No quarterback went 101.
Oh, you know what? You know what? I'm confusing him with another old guy with a funny name, Doug Flutie.
Doug
These
Flutie?
are
Oh,
not
yeah.
the same
Flutie, yeah.
people.
Oh,
These are
my
not the
They
same
were
God.
very different quarterbacks. Vinny Testaverde was a statue, especially by the
Doug
time
was-
I was watching him. He was old. He's 40, and he was the ultimate statue. But
So
He was-
Doug
Vinny
wasn't
is
even
Charizard of-
5'9". Doug wasn't
Tyler
even
Shuck.
5'9". Wow, we're already here. I mean, who went to high school with whom? Testaverde was he was the 101. Tampa Bay, 1988. I
You know
think.
what? You know who's the Charizard of this? It's Chad Pennington. It's a different Jets quarterback. It's Chad Pennington.
no, but
Right?
he had a noodle arm. He wasn't the big
True.
arm guy.
28-year-old
Kerry Collins is the
Oh,
is
Kerry
the,
Collins is a good one.
yeah, but he never
Wow.
he was not a Charizard. He didn't fully.
Hey, what about Jeff
Right there.
George?
Oh,
And he
you know
started
what?
in the Super Bowl. Collins.
Tim
George.
Tim in the chat is correct. It's Stafford is the Charizard of this archetype. 100%.
Yeah, Stafford.
Okay.
That's a good
All right,
one.
there we go. We got there. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Plus,
took
I
5
think
minutes,
I
but
think
we
Jeff
did
George
get
was
there.
5'1".
Jeff George was tall.
In my mind,
you did not get drafted 101 in my day if you were not big. You had to be big.
Until this moment right now, Doug Flutie and Vincent Testaverde were basically the same guy in my head.
My God.
Until this moment.
Both late stage Patriots. Maybe that's your out here.
I think it is that, and my only knowledge of either of them would have come third hand from Bill Simmons, page 2, or what was section 2? What was it called
Page
on
2.
ESPN?
Well,
Anyways,
I mean, have you not seen the Doug Flutie Boston College Hail Mary on like?
Of course I have, but
Center
like
86 times.
That guy's Vincent Testaverde also.
That was against. By the way, that was against Kozar, and Testaverde might have succeeded Kozar. It's in 1984.
Oh man!
Also, Vinny Testaverde's kid played in the UFL.
Drew Bledsoe's another good one.
CFL.
Another giant 101 overall quarterback. What are we trying to figure out? Charizard? What does it mean? Who is this Charizard?
Have there been any good big-armed statue quarterbacks that are like 6'5"? And the answer is like that used to be the entire position.
That used to be the whole league. That used to be just used to be the position.
Like if you go back to 2000, you're like
Johnny Unitas.
Yeah.
Well, was Bledsoe not good? I mean, how many thousands of yards did he throw for 10, 12 years? Was he not? He's not a legend, but he wasn't bad.
He got beaten up by a 6th-round pick. Stinks.
No, he got beaten up by Mo Lewis. Mo Lewis never heard Drew Bledsoe. He wins all those Super Bowls.
Wow.
The Sam Sherman's DNA. That's Brady's got to be.
What happened here?
Just talk about where he was drafted.
Yes.
This was supposed to be Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was actually supposed to be the heir to this throne. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be mega Drew Bledsoe. He was supposed to be Stafford with like better decision making.
It's got to be patient.
Yeah.
I'm still in on Lawrence. So is Jacob. We're in the Jags this year.
Yeah, Lawrence and Shuck actually maybe are kind of. Let me pull up my.
Oh God.
Yeah, passing game coordinator Shane Waldron, really inspiring confidence in the Jaguars rebuild.
Man,
I'm really looking forward to it.
Duval.
Travis,
I'm going to be in on the Jags. The Duval and the Shane Waldron passing game we've never really cared about passing game coordinators. I mean, come on. The only time we care about passing game coordinators is when they become OCs and we're like, who are they under? Shane Waldron gets hired as someone's OC. I will react to that news. That's bad.
I don't know. Famously, we cared when we realized that Freddie Kitchens got hired by the Giants. Correct?
Well, that's only because we saw the future, David. Is that we saw that he would become the OC in one of the only moments where I was like, "Oh my God, I know for a fact what's going to happen in the NFL."
Anyway, did we solve what is going on with Shedeur? Because I don't think we did.
No. I would just say about the Saints, I would like for them to be normal one time. Every year, they're still trading up and buying and pushing off their debt and whatever else they're doing. And really, when one thing Jacob quoted from Underhill, I'm not grinding, so to speak, Underhill either, but he did actually, I think, literally write, the rebuild is here. You said that, and I read that, and that meant everything to me. Like that meant finally the Saints, if it's true, if it happens, the Saints are finally ready.
It's only here. It's only here if they like. What if in the second round they're like, oh shit, but we could do this instead. Like they could totally change their tune in the middle of it.
Well, what do they do in round one then? Like, what do they do in round one? If they were us, what they would be doing already is trading down and betting on what the market's going to do, and then be ready to trade back up, which a team never does.
If I were in their shoes, I would be going to all the scouts and going, what quarterback do you like best? Because we're taking him at 9. There's no other option. Like the salary cap, I think the rookie contract stuff is like actually maybe slightly overrated, in terms of like how much it's doing for your franchise, but not for the Saints. For the Saints, like that would be almost a get out of jail free card, because they're going to have to eat a bunch of dead cap with Carr after this season. Like you're still going to have Carr on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year you're gonna have to eat a bunch of dead cap, but you can actually get out of it at least and spread it out over a couple years. And then obviously, like that's the comment. The Saints are still paying Mike Thomas, which is true. This is not a joke. He's still on the books. Like their salary
not for a little
situation
bit. Not for a little bit
is a mess. So
they're almost out of the Deuce McAllister contract.
Yeah, exactly.
He was one of my favorite.
I love Deuce McAllister.
He was
my
awesome.
God.
Yeah.
Honestly,
They are
like,
unfortunately paying Jonathan Vilma until 2029.
When Saints guys start getting hired by the NFL Network, does that change the cap calculation? Like, is it like when you fire a coach and they get hired, you don't have to pay him anymore? Like,
well,
Saints
they
are paying
did get
people
some salary relief from Darren Sharper, I think.
they get a compensatory pick. If you go to work for NFL Network, they get an extra pick at the end of the sixth round. That's a new thing. That just
I think there's an interesting point raised. Are the Saints even rebuildable within pick nine's rookie contract length? I wonder if the sharp thing to do is don't take the quarterback and just say, you know what? We are literally going to be the Aints again. We are going to go 0-17 2 or 3 times. We are going to be so bad.
Big agree.
And just like no team. So the Browns kind of did this. Remember that
always works when teams totally tank and bottom out. They just they bounce right back.
Well, no. But I wonder if one of the things you could do. No NFL team has tried this. What if you traded your ones now for ones 4 or 5 years from now? So instead of the 9th pick now, you say we'll take your 2029 first round pick.
So I totally agree with
part
Davis.
Of your plan to dose like Mickey Loomis with
that's what I'm saying,
with LSD and shrooms. Like, you're asking this man to flip his worldview, like truly change the way he thinks.
I can fix him.
He's been stuck in I'll just sacrifice the future again. Like,
convince him to go and
go
convince
7
him
and
to
9.
go all in on the Pelicans for 4 years. He also owns the Pelicans, so convince him Zion's going to be healthy. We're going to get him on, he's going to get on Ozempic. We're going to have Mega Zion. You could say next 4 years, we're all in. We'll trade all our future first round picks for the Pelicans. Kind of have a fun core. They got a good wing defender in Herb Jones. Just like, we're going to be the 4 seed in the West. We're going to be all in on the Saints or on the Pelicans.
My issue with this is, and I agree with Davis. Like, if I was the owner of the New Orleans Saints, I would view it this way. And then, like, to me, it's a waste of the rookie quarterback contract to do it when you're spending a bunch of money on players who don't play for you. Like, I would rather just eat it now, clear the books, and then do the rookie quarterback thing when I can actually take advantage of it, instead of just like basically drafting Shedeur now is like, you owe a ton of debt to one creditor. So then you go to a lending company and you're like, I need to take out a loan, but just put the check in my creditor's name, not in my own name. Like, I don't actually get access to the money. I just have to send it somewhere else. I don't think that helps anything. But I agree with Pat in the sense of, for Mickey Loomis and Kellen Moore, like, they don't survive 2 years of 0-7.
Yeah, they're not going to survive.
That's not their goal. So if they're the ones still making the decisions and they have agency, then probably their best path to saving their hide is to take a rookie quarterback, try to build a representative offense. And
I also think that the pushback I would have on your analogy is like, I don't really have that much faith in Shedeur, where that's where I would agree with your analogy. But the Saints are not a Patriots 2024 level incubator for a quarterback. Like, it's not a great setup, but it's not a disaster. They were able to look really frisky at the beginning of last season, and then it didn't stick. But this isn't. It's not like there's no pieces here, or you can't protect a guy. You put a rookie out there, he's going to get killed. Like, that's not where the Saints are somehow. It feels like they kind of should be, but like, quarterbacks are hard to get. You have to have, like we're seeing from the Giants, right? Like, you don't know what the class is going to hold. You don't know if you're actually going to get the number 1 pick. There's a ton of bad teams every year. And so, like, effectively tanking to get the number 1 pick is kind of easier said than done. And you're fighting against these coaches who are going to try to save their job. They're going to try to win games, even when they're not going to be there the next year. They'll stick it to you and win their final game, so you don't get the number 1 pick, which is always delightful. But I don't know. I mean, if you have a chance to just take the quarterback at 9, I think you do it. And then if it's Josh Rosen situation, then move on again. Like draft another quarterback. But they need to, for once, the Saints need to have an undervalued player. And a quarterback on a rookie contract is kind of the ultimate of that.
Perhaps an interesting comp would be the 17 Bills. So Sean McDermott gets hired. They're on a long playoff drought. Doesn't it feel like the Saints are on a long playoff drought? Whatever. Like they're kind of trapped in their own division because every year that division is supposed to be won by somebody winning 10 games, where the Bills had the Brady Patriots. Anyway, they hire McDermott. They have the 10th overall pick, and he decides, or they don't have their GM yet. He decides, or that they're going to push it off. This is what we're saying the Saints should do. Now, it turns out they trade the pick that Kansas City uses on Patrick Mahomes, but they ride with Tyrod Taylor.
It's all working.
They got Keon and Dalton Kincaid. I mean,
hey, hang on. Let me finish. They ride with Taylor. They wanted Mike Glennon, who's been mentioned here already, and some other guy Brian Hoyer. They tried to get those guys. They don't come. Taylor thinks he's going to free agency. He doesn't get the deal. He ends up back here. They're like a minus 50-something point differential. They make the playoffs, and McDermott is made. Then the next year they push up. They get Allen. They get that right, and then you're a legend at that point. That's the Saints should, I think, like you're saying, look at this way. They don't need Shedeur Sanders at 9. They should be trading down every time right now. They're going to get one of these mid quarterbacks. We'll see what happens. If it doesn't work out, fine. The next year they're terrible. They do it again. They ride with whether it's Carr or I don't know. It doesn't have to be him.
But Mike, your story ends with them getting Josh Allen. And I think that the lesson is that you got to find a Josh Allen. Now, maybe, I think the strongest piece of this is that like Shedeur is not Josh Allen. And I don't think anyone thinks he can be Josh Allen.
Hope for the best.
You what?
So then at least draft Jalen Milroe and hope for the best. I just don't get the point of the whole idea of Shedeur Sanders is like, we're going to get a $25 million quarterback, but we're going to pay him less than half of that because he's on a rookie contract. And then if we surround him with a great scheme and all the great weapons, he's not going to make mistakes. He's going to deliver the ball accurately. He's going to hit the targets. He's going to play on time. That's like the theoretical idea of Shedeur, which to me makes him the perfect rookie contract quarterback in a great environment. But I just don't know how that works when you're saying like, well, we're not going to get the advantage of the rookie quarterback contract because we're paying $50 million a year to retired players.
Who was that? Was that Pickett? Somebody that had a good environment, if not great, and first round pick, and just like, let's just sort of give him time and see what happens. And then he was gone. I feel like the bet is against Sanders, no matter what happens. If he goes top half of round 1.
But we're wrong about these quarterbacks all the time.
That's right.
I know that Shedeur is not a guy that I'm that excited about, but we are wrong about which ones. CJ Stroud, if CJ Stroud, if this kind of happened, if the Texans didn't sit there and take him at 2, well, what's the point of CJ Stroud? Like, he's a pocket passer. He's accurate. It's like
kind of looks true.
We didn't have that because they didn't, the NFL kept their cool with him. But I don't know. Like, if Shedeur is really accurate and is great at reading defenses, and the sacks issue was a lot more to do with his offensive line than him, like, accurate pocket passer who gets the ball out, is where it's supposed to go. Like, that's actually pretty powerful.
And his arm talent.
His arm talent's it's
and he's from an offense that runs like 8 plays.
No, they didn't have a run game, so you got to give him that.
Somebody said that, right?
10 plays.
Yeah.
No, the offense.
Oh,
is like
you mean I see what you mean. Play variety. Yeah.
I just mean like they don't like I don't know how you talk about reading the defense and stuff, and it's like, yeah, like there's parts of that I get. Like, I think he's a smart player at times, but like it's not like it's an NFL offense. Like, they ran like literally 6 plays like over and over and over again. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of like what if for a quarterback who has a very middling arm and doesn't run.
It is. It is a lot of what if. I don't know. I just like if you find yourself in
what
dire
if?
straits and a quarterback's there, I feel like, hey, you know what's really valuable?
This is a good question. Who is the last successful late faller quarterback? I mean, I think the obvious example would be Lamar. I think Geno, pretty compelling. I think the answer was Geno was actually good the entire time, and had Geno been in the right incubator, he probably would have been pretty strong. Those are the two that I can really think of in terms of fallers.
Wilson, was he a faller or was he just?
He wasn't
really
ever
radar. Like him and Dak were never going to go round one.
Yeah.
Both great.
It's Jordan Love. Yeah, Jordan Love.
Jordan Love was talked about, like him versus Herbert was a big discussion in that draft.
Hurts was not a faller. NFL teams just were not woke.
He was never going to go round one.
Yeah, he was never.
Aaron Rodgers was famously a faller.
Aaron Rodgers, big faller.
Big faller.
From 101 to whatever he went.
Yeah.
And Jackson
Brady
is
Quinn.
So I mean, honestly, falling quarterbacks are not.
All is fine.
Fallers are fine.
But we're pointing out though the structural thing here is like Lamar and Hurts and these dudes and Geno fell because they're black. Look, let's just be real. Like Lamar fell because only maybe 10 NFL teams could even see the vision with Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of teams now, you'd get one of these coaches on Truth Serum right now, and they'd be like, "Oh, we have no interest in having Lamar be our quarterback because he can't do, not because of racism, but just because they're like, oh, he can't execute my offense, right? He can't do X, Y, or Z."
And also, racism.
that was that same Bills year, Davis. Like they moved on from Taylor, and they were just never going to pick Lamar Jackson. We talked about Allen and Rosen. That's what we talked about every day around here. Allen and Rosen. It was never going to be Jackson. And, the Joshes. Maybe they made the right choice. Yes.
Pick the right Josh.
Passing on Lamar and being right is that's amazing.
It's living well.
Yeah,
something that's living well.
Arguably
one team did. Yeah.
I've got some.
Even the Ravens took Hayden Hurst over Lamar. Isn't that?
That's insane? Right. That's right. They liked him that much.
They took Hayden Hurst over Mark Andrews.
Yeah, he went 2 rounds later. But like, you're like, imagine being in on Lamar clearly, and then be like, yeah, but only if we can get back in, we got to take Hayden Hurst.
By the way, Pat, the Saints debate is a little bit like the Browns one we had, which is how much pain are you up for? And then you look at sort of the status of the coach and the GM. That's the thing about the Bills comp that I like for Kellen Moore, who's got a name in the league. He can afford a year. Not everybody can, but he can spend a year on, bottoming out, whatever it is, because he'll be back. He's not going to be,
He'll be back next year, yeah. But I think that you look at the Titans, I think one of the reasons they're probably zeroing in on Cam Ward is that they can't do another. If they pass on Ward, if they were to take Carter or Hunter, and they just, let's say they just run back Will Levis, they're all getting fired, and maybe they don't even make it through the season. Like so you get one. I don't think Kellen Moore's not going to get like 3 years of horrible play from the Saints. Like they have to be respectable. So yeah, I mean, it's different if you're the owner.
His next job at worst is offensive coordinator somewhere else. Like at worst,
you get like one shot as a head coach. You get like one shot. I would be, if I were in his shoes, I'd be like, I literally just went from thinking we wouldn't have a quarterback this year, that this whole thing was going to be an absolute disaster. And I'm an offensive guy. So if the offense looks like crap, that's not going to reflect well on me. I can just sit here and take a quarterback at 9, and I can get decent play out of him, and we'll be building for the future.
It won't be his fault if whoever the quarterback is not supposed to be good. Whether that's a rookie or whether that's someone that's not Derek Carr, like it won't really all be it won't be his fault. That's the Dable debate. Is like, well, I mean,
Dable made the playoffs year 1 though,
but that was all luck too. I mean,
my slight pushback on that is that if they pass on quarterback this year, and we all agree Moore comes back next year, then can't you just take the quarterback year 2 and then the pressure's lower? You don't have to make the playoffs in year 2. You just need to show signs, and then you get a year 3.
Yes. That's Buffalo.
You can take the quarterback.
If Callahan takes Ward this year, and they are like not good, but just not a disaster, then he probably gets year 3.
I think that's different because it's 101.
The number 1 pick.
Right.
What about
that's
the Giants? I mean, the Giants are screwed right now. Dayball, like this is probably what Dayball was telling himself, like, but they're not going to get a quarterback unless they take Shedeur at 3 or they take Tyler Shuck in the second round. And that's not going to be enough. The losing is raised the bar on those guys. So like Tyler Shuck, like a 6-win season from Tyler Shuck isn't going to cut it. So yeah, I mean, you technically like the best path, the highest upside path is to pass on Shedeur and then eventually land a real star quarterback. But for who gets that? Who gets, like, just Kellen Moore get that? I don't think so in a lot of cases, because he's going to get one shot next year. And it's like, I don't know, he's probably looking like Carson Beck at pick 5 or something. And I just think I'd rather.
I think we've all been
Jared
marked safe.
Nussmeier.
Yeah, we've been marked safe, I think, from Carson Beck at
I don't know, man. Here we are talking about Tyler
Carson
Shuck.
Beck's good.
I don't know, dude. He's going to be able to do it.
Carson Beck.
Aaron Rodgers will need a new job.
Davis, Jacob is still in.
I'm in on Carson Beck. I think his receivers let him down last year.
I'm imploring you, bro. I need you to watch the film.
Look, man, he played great against Tennessee.
No, the game that had me out on him on Carson Beck was the Georgia Tech game where Haynes King was just beating his ass down. No coming back from that. As Ward was not in this conversation really at all last year. He was viewed as like a developmental prospect style guy. So we are going to get someone.
QB always bubbles up, he says, while imploring the host to pass on the quarterback 2 at pick 9. Like, what do you?
I'm not imploring them to pass on the quarterback 2 at pick 9. I'm imploring them to draft a different quarterback at pick 9. I would draft Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe at pick 9.
Okay, that's fine.
Why not just pick one of them at 40 then?
Well, I don't.
Well, Dart won't be there.
I don't have the intel. I'm not in the league. If they think they'll be there at 40, then I would wait. But I wouldn't. But if they're not sure, then I think it would be totally justifiable to take a quarterback with actual physical tools at pick 9.
And again, they'd be moving down already. I mean, nobody wants to make a trade. Every team literally has its number 1 pick right now, which is rare. The Saints, if they're us, they should. This is 20 minutes ago. They should have been moving down already and be positioned to get one of those guys. It's not a bad plan. I mean, just do that. But you shouldn't have to do that at 9. And the Saints are years overdue for making any move that even resembles that. They're always moving up. They're always pushing it off. Enough about the Saints.
Okay,
right?
so I assume we're thinking all this discussion that we just had about Shedeur very much applies to the Giants, right? So you guys aren't saying take Shedeur at 3.
No,
you're not in on Shedeur at 9.
Especially not because the opportunity cost is so high. Like you're getting a potential perennial Pro Bowler at 3.
Yeah,
that's a decision that like Dayball and Shane maybe shouldn't even have. Like they shouldn't even be allowed to pass on.
That's what I think. I saw Brett Coleman tweet this morning, but like someone quote tweeted the Shedeur's working out with the Giants thing as ownership got involved, which is maybe.
But it should be the opposite.
It should be the opposite,
right? Like
you're actually trying to do right by the franchise.
Dayball and Schoen are the guys that are incentivized to take the quarterback even if they shouldn't, and the owner should be stepping in being like, we are not going to give up the chance to draft a very likely perennial Pro Bowler in Hunter or Carter to take a quarterback prospect that's iffy. But it's maybe it's the other way somehow.
It would be very funny if the Saints still have no interest in Shedeur at 9, but now everyone will assume that they do, and it causes the Giants to just take him. Mara panics and is like, we got to get Shedeur. We can't get him otherwise.
I think this one is the Schefter it's a Schefter operation. I bet every year 9 days before the draft he tweets something that ends with some new intrigue. I don't know what is this meeting going to be? Is it they're going to Subway? Are they going to work them out again? What even is? I think this is sort of the machine at work, is like giving us something else to talk about, which I don't resent that, but I want to be
By
able
the way,
to see
I think
through it.
Sam Sherman has a new name. I think he's Eric, who just posted in the chat, why are people so obsessed with Carter at 3 when Parsons was better and went 10? That is the most Sam Sherman comment.
That is
Michael Parsons went at 10, so he's got to be.
We're not bidding like dollars for, it's like it depends on who's in the class. If Parsons was in this class, he might be number 1.
Also, Parsons should have been number 1 in most classes. That was incorrect.
There is also like Parsons and Carter are very similar, and in certain like the red flags on Carter have sort of been proven to be overblown by Parsons.
Wasn't the deal with Parsons though that he didn't play like strict edge in college?
Correct.
Wasn't yeah.
Yeah.
So that is it's not 1-to-1 then.
Well, you're seeing that. Well, Carter wasn't he not a full-time edge until last year? Am I wrong about that? He's got that same build.
Not ask me to evaluate defensive line play.
He's got the same build as Parsons, and so you kind of needed to have the vision for Parsons, and now the NFL doesn't need a vision. Anytime the NFL no longer needs a vision and can just copy someone else's work, they're way more excited about that, right? Copycat league. They just go, I'll do Parsons. Parsons works, I'll do Parsons. So now everyone's in. Where with Parsons, you had to see it a little.
Yeah.
Mock drafts.
Yeah.
So I found a few here, and we'll start with Todd McShay, which is either last night or this morning. I want to talk about, some of his predictions. Are they likely to be right, and what would it mean for us in fantasy?
Can you zoom in on this one?
Todd's with me. He's got the QB2 at number 9. Look at that.
Can I do it?
Yeah, I think you have to do it because it's your screen.
Oh boy.
Just like Control Plus or some other browser enlarge. This is
at least you got for one thing before I even try this. At least it's not faces.
Okay.
At least it's not faces, which was hilarious on Ship Chasing last week. You guys trying to figure out who was who. I loved that. I don't know, Pat. This might be the best I can do.
All right.
I can read it.
All right. Carter even played some inside linebacker. Look at that. You guys never had me on the Swolecast. Were you worried I would know too much about the trenches this year?
Man.
You want to come on today?
All right.
Listen, here's what you need here from this is McShay's
focus podcast of ever.
I resent that.
25% my fault at least.
The Saints picking Dart at 9, which we've kind of hypothesized about. You've got receivers McMillan at 12 and Golden at 16. That's it, not counting Hunter. That's it from McShay in this mock draft. Genty at 6 of the Raiders, which is pretty common. Denver on O'Marion Hampton. That's it for running backs. And as far as quarterback goes, you have Cleveland moving up to get Sanders at 15. The Giants moving up to get Milroe, who ends up quarterback 4 at 24. The numbers aren't that important. A lot of people have been talking about the Browns and or the Giants moving back into the first round to get their quarterback as their second pick. Dart is the most, wow prediction here. Not to go back to the Saints. But Jacob, you like it?
I like it. I mean, I really like Dart, but who knows, man? I mean, I think that all three of the quarterbacks other than Ward, and maybe even to some extent excluding Ward, have like massive glaring what if red flags, right? You have to be like, what if Shedeur's pocket management and sack tendencies are all his O-line fault? And what if he can play in a real offense? And with Dart, it's like, what if he can actually read the field beyond Lane Kiffin just spoon feeding him wide open reads all the time? And obviously with Milroe, there's a lot of accuracy concerns. But I just think ultimately, like I don't know that any of these guys are like actually round 1 quarterbacks in a vacuum, but if you find yourself organizationally reaching the conclusion that like, we just have to do it, and these are the guys that we have to do it with, I guess I'm just more willing to make that wager on the guys where if the what if goes in your favor, you get a guy that you're hopefully legitimately pumped to pay a second quarterback contract to. And I know it's not that easy to delineate floor and ceiling, but that's how I would try to look at it. Like, do I think Jackson Dart is like a good bet at the 9th overall pick that will work out a high percentage of the time? I don't. But if you come to the conclusion, like Pat's laid out, that you got to do quarterback, those are the guys you pick, that would be the bet that I would make if I had to make one.
It also is at a point in the draft where I think the Giants they really are like Carter's a blue chip prospect. It's honestly he's a blue chip prospect. It's the first time I've seen pushback on him in a long time, because he's just he's one of the guys that people really feel confident about in this class, along with Hunter. And you're passing on one of those guys if you take Shedeur at 3. But if you get down to 9, there's less. And I think some of these guys are also starting to shake out too. I've heard a lot of buzz on Jalen Walker recently. He'll probably be gone. So there's there's probably even a secondary tier that's already gone as well by the time you get to Dart or Shedeur or whoever else. So I think in this draft class too, the opportunity cost isn't insane. The 9th overall pick in this class is worth less than some other classes, is another way to think about it.
Everybody wants to move down from somewhere around that pick to what? Pick 70? Is everybody kind of the same?
Everyone wants to move down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those kind of years. So
yeah, 9th overall ain't what it usually is. Teams would love to move down.
I do just want to say the Bears are not taking Tyler Warren.
Tight ends. Okay, we've got Chicago taking Warren at 10, and then Jacobs Colts with Loveland at 14.
I've heard some stuff about Cole Kmet's season, and you look at his season and the numbers, it was not good. I don't think they'll take Warren at 10, but some people have asked, why aren't you guys hiring Kmet? And that someone would mock Warren at 10 is kind of part of the reason. I'm not sure he's locked in. It would be more probably I could see them taking I could see them taking Mason Taylor or Elijah Arroyo or something in the second round. I also doubt they take Warren at 10, but
Kmet
not kind of a red flag for
fine,
Kmet.
And they have bigger needs. One thing is, what if Keenan is just they think Keenan is done, or
they do,
he's not willing to re-sign?
They do.
Why not just take Ted? Why not just take Ted? If the whole thing is we want to run the Ben Johnson, give Caleb all these good wide receivers, Ted is a way better fit than Warren.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fair.
Again, another reason why these teams should be trading down a month ago, because nobody's going to want. We're going to get to that range of the draft, and nobody's going to want to move up. Who are they moving up for?
I do think it's interesting. Speaking of Tet, the Cowboys have Tet here. I've followed McShay's stuff all offseason. He does not like Tet. He has him in the 20s in his big board and stuff. He really likes Matthew Golden. So this would be
personal wide receiver 1, right?
Yeah, it's his personal wide receiver 1. So that's interesting, because to me, I'm if he was making the decision, I know it wouldn't be Tet here. So you wonder if this is what he's.
You think
hearing.
He knows? You say, yeah, you think he knows?
Well, I know he knows, but I doubt. But what drove this pick? It wasn't his own evaluation, so it's probably what he's hearing in the league.
Good point.
It's an admission against interest, as we call it in the fantasy law guy world.
Jacob, what is tight end for the Colts odds for what position they take first? Is tight end first?
Yeah, it is. I think that. So the odd thing is, and I was just doing a lot of nodding listening to Pat's episode with FLG. It is a little weird to try to predict the Colts taking players that didn't work out just based on their history of targeting extremely high RAS players in the first 2 rounds. Although Latu is a little bit off brand for them last year, but with Warren and Loveland, one thing I don't think is going to be a big issue. I heard FLG talk about Loveland's shoulder. The Colts don't shy away from medical issues. They took Latu last year, who had to medically retire at one point in his college career. They took Dio Adengbo in the second round with, I think it was a torn Achilles or torn ACL. He didn't even play his first year in the league with the Colts. So they're not going to shy away from medicals. But the lack of athletic testing, I think, could be a potential issue. But I don't know. They seem very set on enough already with the tight end committee. Ballard's talked about it a lot. And you look at the other positions they would need, they could use an edge rusher, but they just drafted one last year in the first round. And I don't think there's really a Colt player here. Maybe Shamar Stewart would be the potential guy they would look at. But Mike Green has character concerns. They don't draft players with character concerns. Same with James Pierce. There's other guys with some arm length threshold issues. And then the other position I think they would really like to take if they could choose would be offensive tackle. So I think maybe Kelvin Banks or it's tight end. And then the other guy would be Jahad Campbell, the linebacker. But I know he has some medical concerns too.
Could they take Loveland over Warren? What chance would you give that? Loveland is plus 500 to be the first tight end. I still love it.
I would take Loveland over Warren. I don't think that they will. I think, I don't know. I just, based on the people that are closest to the teams reporting, it seems to be that they think that they prefer Warren as their tight end one. So I think if both run, I think if Warren was gone like he is in this scenario, I think they would strongly consider Loveland. But I think if both are available, they would take Warren. I also think I think that they should just take a quarterback if one is there, but I don't think that they actually will do that.
I don't, yeah. Omarion Hampton to Denver at 20. Last thing on the McShay mock draft we're looking at here. That's pretty close to consensus, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone kind of thinks this is going to happen if the Bears don't take him.
Yeah, Neck, I think, said he thought 20 was Hampton's ceiling, but the 21 was his floor. Basically, the Broncos or the Steelers would grab him. Not like his real floor, but yeah.
Our next mock draft will show different, by the way.
That would be like for sure of all of the fantasy eligible players outside of Cam Ward to the Titans. The one would be most confident about is Hampton on the Broncos. That would be like the next most likely. If I had to bet on one player to team match for my life, I think that'd be my second pick. And
that makes his rookie draft ceiling and floor also very narrow, like between the 102 and the 104 at the lowest, right? And we'd love that for
considerably.
By the way,
second round pick best ball.
Yeah, I think so.
By the way, again, referring to your ship chasing episode from last week, real quick, I've made 2 trades recently, sending away the 102 in rookie drafts.
I tried to do it in our league yesterday. No takers.
I did one for the 103 and one for the 101. May I, real quick?
Please.
I was offered 103, mid-second, 4th for 102 and a 7th. Fine, great. Easily.
Smash.
Great.
Yeah, who cares?
I traded the 102 and Amon-Ra St. Brown for the 101, the 109, and Pearsall.
Wait,
that's also
repeat that. 102 and Amon-Ra.
Right. For 101, 109, and Pearsall. Would you do that? I mean, I just wanted to. I've got 10
I think that I
teams. No?
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Because I would look at Amon-Ra and Genty as kind of a wash. And then it's 102 for 109 and Pearsall, and I would prefer the 102.
Okay. I mean, that's definitely fair. It's way more fair than saying I went to high school with Jackie Robinson. Way more fair. That was totally unfair. That was ridiculous.
Literally unfair.
My father was born after his debut. I mean, come on here.
I don't know what player would you guys be trying to get the 102 for? Because like in this league that I'm in with Schopp, I'm like ready to win. I'm gonna have Bijan, Genty, Neighbors, Worthy, Laporte. Like it's a stud team. What should I be trying to get?
Are you looking at?
Any. Just a point score, a lot of points.
I mean, Hunter is interesting. Well, you're talking about not rookies, but
yeah, I'm trying to. I'm
like is like Nico Collins possible?
I offered it for Nico and got denied. But that was the line.
I think I would do your trade, Mike. That second, because I think there's a big. I was looking at I think there's a big enough jump from Amon-Ra to Genty that I would actually do it.
All right, but it's always portfolio based too. I mean, I didn't have any 101s. I wanted some Genty, and a lot of my teams, you can relate, are down at running back and good at receiver. Also, in those FFPC rookie drafts, Warren and Loveland will be, high picks. It should be, it's always fun, but those will be mid first round picks if they go in the first round in the real draft, I would think. Tight end premium.
I hope so. I think that they've been a bit underrated in some of the mocks that I've seen, but we'll get into that in the Dynasty Street soon.
All right.
One other thing
yes.
on this mock. We have Matthew Golden going 16 to the Cardinals. Then we have the Chargers going edge. We have no other wide receivers in this mock draft. And he goes all the way out to 34. So, no Emeka Egbuka, no Luther Burden.
Not even Jalen Royals. Not even Jalen Royals going in this first round here. Higgins.
So that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Higgins would be a long shot, but those two guys both falling out.
I'm on board.
Going 34 picks is kind of interesting.
I'm on board. I could see it.
He doesn't have the Titans with their pick at 33, so that's maybe they would take one of those, but it's still through 34 picks, only 2 wide receivers.
They're 35. So again, those top 3 teams rotate.
This mock.
Titans are 35. Those top 3 teams rotate round to round because they tied. Cleveland has the first pick, and then the Giants in round 2. All right.
That's a good note. All right.
Let's move to Warren Sharp. Ryan McChrystal for Warren Sharp's website. What's interesting here? The same Genty at 6 to the Raiders. The same Tyler Warren to the Bears, Davis. Also McMillan to Dallas at 12. Then we get to pick 20. It's not Hampton. It's Travion Henderson to Denver. Sanders to Pittsburgh. Loveland to the Chargers. This little hot region here. Golden to Green Bay at 23. Egbuka to the Rams at 26. And there's Hampton as running back 3 at pick 29 to Washington.
I mean, I've been on the record that I think the Cowboys are more likely to take Golden than Tet. Egbuka does not feel like a Rams pick to me. And I promise Matthew Golden will not be a Packer. I ran 80,000 simulations, and in 0 of them did Golden doesn't even fit one of the Packers. Like, the Packers are probably, of all 32 NFL teams, the most. You have to meet our check marks, and if you don't meet our check marks, you're off our board. I would be surprised if Golden.
Are you saying he doesn't meet their 40 threshold because it was fake? Are you a conspiracy theorist there?
I guess he would meet that, but he doesn't meet height, weight, age, college production. They don't even. The Packers are sort of famously.
He meets age, doesn't he?
Was he 22?
They drafted Jaden Reed.
He's 21 years old. Didn't turn 22 till August.
Also, the Packers.
He doesn't meet their weight threshold.
The Packers also don't take Big 12 players. I guess technically he's SEC or whatever, but so maybe not. Maybe because he got the SEC season in. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he doesn't check all the boxes. He checks a lot of them.
Do you guys still do that in your head that Texas and Oklahoma are still Big 12 teams, even though they're not at all?
Yeah. To me, they're in the SWAC, bro.
Yeah, Oklahoma's in the Big 8.
Yeah.
Over here.
Now, Loveland to Chargers is Loveland to the Chargers are our generation's Blake Corum to the Chargers.
Yeah, but Loveland's better, and they need a tight end. I think this one's like pretty likely to happen, and I would love it.
Yeah.
Pat's trade down before they take Campbell with who? That question's not from me. It's from Mike Vrabel. Mike on the line asked, who do we trade with, please?
What it sort of feels like, maybe this is kind of to be expected, but it sort of feels like right now, a week away, is that somebody could trade up for Genty.
Oh, sure.
Really? Somebody trade up for a running back?
Somebody, who would it be? Like, I don't know who it would be. It's a
the
big
NFL
trade.
Is pretty good at they're good at, like, I feel like with running back now, there's kind of like we all understand kind of why they're not as valuable as first round picks and all of it until you actually like get the chance to do it. And you're like, but this guy, I mean, come on, he's worth a first round pick. So I think that Genty, I mean, I understand why everyone's excited. I'm very excited myself. I could actually see teams throwing out the rule book on him.
Dallas.
I don't think Dallas is taking a running back the first round. I just don't think they value the position. I just think it's like a lot of people are like applying logic that existed like several years ago in a way that we don't to other teams because people like to mock the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think they're obviously going to take a running back in this draft. They're not going to enter the season just with Javonte and Miles Sanders after what happened last year. But I don't think it'll be round one. I that's just my lean. I also am not sure the Raiders take Genty. I think in my mock I'll probably do Genty to the Bears.
Maybe it's a little too easy, but for me, the Dallas thing is just like, let's get a star in here. They're so stale, the Cowboys, and they're so old. Like, just wouldn't that be like, whatever? Here's a first, whatever. Let's get somebody in here. We're the most valuable franchise in sports anyway, despite we never win. Let's just get somebody, great. And all the things you said are fair. Like, what they think of the position, but Genty is so superlative that I could see a team being tempted, and Dallas would be a team for me that's easily tempted, but they shouldn't.
I think they should take Tet personally. But
agreed.
We'll see.
Yep. Travion, running back 2, Denver. Davis, you're always like, who are the classic Broncos prospects? Is he one?
I don't know. He feels a little less Peyton-y to me. I wonder, though, I think I've ultimately landed on this side of the divide of if this class has 20 running backs, then why would you take one in the first? I think that's actually what we're going to see. We'll see Hampton and Genty go round 1, and then maybe 1 or 2 of them, like maybe, Caleb Johnson or Judkins ends up being round 2. But I think what is going to happen is, because there are 20 dudes and so many of them are of the similar skill set, the 215 to 225 pound early down guy, some of these guys that are, we're taking pick your running back in the top 100 of the big board, and he was a round 4 pick. And it's not going to be a death knell. It's just going to be the teams kind of all have this tacit agreement that, these guys are all, Damian Martinez and Quinshon Judkins are going to roughly approximate the same thing on our NFL team. So why pay through the nose for one of them?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I just buy the reporting on how much Denver wants running back. They haven't done anything else in free agency. Like, they haven't set up contingencies. I think that they're probably taking Hampton, and if Hampton's off the board, I wouldn't be surprised if they take Henderson. Personally, if I had both on the board, I would take Henderson. If I'm doing my real life running back rankings, I think he's the second best running back in this class, but that doesn't seem to be the commonly shared opinion. So it would surprise me if they took Henderson while Hampton was on the board, but you never know.
What do you think of Washington as a running back pick in round 1?
I think it's pretty plausible. I think you switch these 2 names. is I think what will actually.
Yeah, then it becomes a lot more plausible.
I think the Broncos take Hampton, and I think Washington takes Henderson.
I don't think Henderson's a nice compliment to Robinson too, right? Isn't he, Henderson? I mean, that's not great for him fantasy wise, but that's a compliment. Brian Robinson's not going away.
They had a quote yesterday about how much they want to find running backs to catch passes and how much they value that, and they didn't name check either of their 2 running backs that are currently on the roster. Henderson is a good pass catcher, not just a good pass catcher, but he's, I think, the best pass protecting running back of the top guys in this class. And so, I think it would be a great fit where he can handle, Robinson could then be like a complimentary guy who handles, 8 to 10 carries a game, because I don't think Henderson's a really high volume running back anyway. But you give Henderson all the pass down work, you give him a majority of the early down carries and a lot of explosive fun stuff, and Robinson just kind of takes the boring low calorie work.
Yep.
I also think Robinson could just go away. They don't really value him that much. There seems capped at kind of a rotational role. He's the kind of guy who goes away all the time. No, I don't.
No, I'm not.
I don't even know where he goes.
And I drafted him
rarely take him.
Interested this year.
I'm not interested in the guys who, if the draft with one of the most loaded deep draft classes at running back in years, if they dodge those bullets, will go roughly where they're going now. I just am like, I mean, you can exempt the early rounds from that, but like Robinson's not even going to move up that much. Maybe moves up a round or something if he dodges a bullet, but there was no excitement about him last year or the year before. I think he's in real risk of them doing something like this, or second round or third round. That would all hurt.
I can tell you that as much as Lutz didn't like the first mock draft, he also doesn't like this one either.
Mock drafting.
Where's the Lutz review?
Mock drafting.
No offense to Ryan McChrystal, but this mock is pure dog shit.
Mock drafting. It's very easy to say how they're bad. It is hard. Because like I actually totally get why these teams keep putting Tyler Warren there. Like, oh, Tyler Warren, everyone loves him. He's going to be a top 10 pick. Oh, well, the Bears pick a 10. Like, they kind of need a third pass catcher. They have a creative play caller. Like, I don't think it happens, but I get why those things happen.
I think mock drafts are tough because when I look at a mock draft, I basically just go like, correct. As long as it like, literally, I just feel myself like confirming my priors. And the second I get to one that doesn't, I'm like, this guy doesn't even follow the draft. What an idiot. And then obviously, like everything I think is going to get blown up. I'm totally wrong about half this stuff. But we're all probably overconfident.
I think it was like last year I had the right first 6 picks, and I was like, I am a genius. Like, I'm going to go 32 for 32. And then it was like immediately like mock gets completely derailed. And it was like, what the fuck is this?
Then Michael Penix happened.
I did just say mock drafts are hard work. But
yeah.
By the way, we on the last one, Sanders to Pittsburgh on that last one.
Yeah.
Oh, Sanders to Pittsburgh.
FLG didn't like that though. FLG was opposed.
Well, is Dart gone, or is that quarterback 2?
Quarterback.
Okay, so this one's not a quarterback heavy draft. We had Milroe. This was 4 quarterbacks going in the first round. This is 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is more likely.
Maybe. I don't even know what's more likely.
I don't know what's more likely with this Carr injury. It's shaking everything up. I don't know what to think anymore.
Here we have PFF. This is Trevor Sikkema and Dalton Wasserman, I believe. And so the highlights. Genty. Sorry? Yes? Is that right?
No.
Genty 6 to the Raiders. Tyler Warren 7 to the Jets. Sanders 9 to the Saints again. Then McMillan falls to 17. Dallas picks linebacker.
Not taking a safety. We just signed Cam Bynum. What the fuck is this?
Malachi Starks to the Colts. Sorry to blow past that.
I'm doing what the commenters are doing.
Just type it in. Yeah, just type it in.
What does this guy know?
Yeah.
McMillan and Golden back-to-back 17-18. Chargers, Seahawks. Hampton 20 to Denver. Back to that. Egbuka to the Packers. I don't know how many of Davis's 10,000 simulations might have landed there. Loveland to the Rams
he
at 26.
He does fit all their thresholds.
He fits. He's way more Packers-y than Golden.
He's a Packer player.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't want him on the Rams because Puka and Egbuka would be a lot to sort of have to say. And
the Chiefs trading out of a first round pick to let to trade up to take the Oregon tackle. That is not Chiefs football. Chiefs don't really trade up. They would be much more likely to trade down.
Oh, Bills Mafia would like a word after last year. The Worthy trade was, a few spots.
But Connerly would be a Packer or would be a Chiefs style tackle to take.
Okay.
So good mock.
I did a
good mock. Like PFF guy.
Matthew Golden 18 to the Seahawks. So we get 17.
Oh, that's interesting.
To the Chargers, right? They traded up.
Yeah, they traded up
with the Bengals
logo.
They traded
with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Seahawks stay at 18 and take Golden.
That works.
Hampton to the Broncos.
Yeah.
The Egbuka, the Packers.
It works.
I've been working on my wide receiver article, hoping to get the first one out tonight, and I think I'm gonna have a Egbuka wide receiver 3.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. That's including Hunter at 1, right?
Hunter's 1. Yeah. Hunter 1.
I have the
2.
I'll also have mine shortly, and I have the same top 3 in the same order as you.
It is including Hunter or not? It's over
Golden?
including
Hunter. Yeah. Well, Egbuka, Golden, and Burden I've been like wrestling with and I think I'm going to go Egbuka, Golden, Burden.
You know, may I on Golden again? Like we talked a couple of weeks ago, does he have to be in the first round? And everybody was like, yes. I talked to Matt Harmon. I mentioned this last week, I think, and he's like, he's a lock. In the Discord, he's a lock to be a first round pick. I don't know. We'll get eventually to one more slide where he's ranked pretty low among wide receivers. Isn't he? You guys, you're the ball knowers. Isn't Golden the prototype of the guy you want to avoid?
There's a lot of red flags for fantasy.
Scott Barrett had picked up this sword and shield. He's just been like arguing against everyone.
Well, the fun thing with Scott's is like he doesn't even actually have Golden that low. Like he has him ranked wide receiver 5.
Wide receiver 4, I think. Yeah.
Well, 4, but he doesn't count Hunter in his rankings.
Mm.
So he has like Hunter as like in a separate category. And then he ranked him 4. But so it'd be 5 if he included Hunter because
that's defensible. If you had Burden over him.
But it's like so it's like not even that high. Like it's the same ranking I'm gonna have on Golden. I have Burden at 4 and Golden at 5.
Okay.
And it's like, and I have them in the same tier. So it's not like Scott's like trying to like be ridiculous and he doesn't have him like wide receiver 10 or something.
Wait till the next slide. Show the next slide. You'll see that.
And it's like, well, the thing is like, he's the guy you want to avoid in the sense of, let's assume he goes somewhere in the teens. You don't want to draft him as highly as you would draft average wide receiver going in the teens. Like you wouldn't want to draft him where Tet's going to go, and they're probably going to go similarly in the real draft, but you're not going to have to. You're going to have to draft him in like the 112, 201, 202. That's 100% defensible.
In rookie drafts.
The thing,
the one thing with guys like what Steve and Sam are doing in these rankings, and what I'm not doing in my rankings, and I'm pretty sure Pat is the same, is like when I'm ranking pre-draft, I'm ranking, if you have a rookie draft a minute after you read my article, this is how I would draft them today.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm counting the fact that Golden is probably going to go round 1 and at worst very early round 2. I think Sam and Steve are just saying, here are my favorite players. If I was an NFL general manager, here's how I would take them. That's freeing. So like I included that at the bottom of my running back column, for instance, and I have like Quinshon Judkins, for instance, like RB8 in those rankings, but that's not how I would ever do it in a fantasy draft. I would have Golden probably ranked closer to where these guys have it if I didn't have to tie myself to where he's going to get drafted.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mostly agree with that, and the way you described the way I'm ranking it is exactly right. I'm ranking it for like actionable, fantasy, dynasty, best ball stuff right now, but also kind of like where I think they'll be close to ending up. Like I'm trying to bake in some of the range of outcomes on where they'll get drafted because I want these to live longer than a week. But I'm also like not including big parts of the analysis. Like I don't do like predictive tape breakdowns on these guys. Like I've seen them play, but that's not a part of my process. So to me, the draft capital, it's more than just like opportunity. It's actually a bit of a talent signal. Like what does the NFL think of these guys is a huge part of stuff that I'm not trying to capture. Like my bet is basically like some of the tape is already baked into the draft position and I'm not an expert in it. So I'm going to be focusing on things that maybe the NFL is not considering enough and add to the draft capital. It'll be additive to draft capital. So in all honesty, I just wouldn't have Golden ranked 8th like ever because he's just going to get drafted way higher than Jalen Royals, who's got a ton of red flags in his profile too. Like, I don't know. Draft
Understood.
It matters for talent.
It's the key point is like there's fantasy analysis, there's the mock drafts trying to predict slots, and there's this. This is Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo ranking their favorite receivers. You guys are right about that. I just think this is maybe two guys, some reflection on the NFL, thought process on this and the Scott Barrett stuff. Golden 7th on Sam's rankings, 8th on Steve's. Does the league have to like him?
Top 10?
No. Right. Does the league have to love him enough to, tell us what we're all sort of assuming, which is he's like a top 20 pick? And I still have my doubts. Luther Burden is 3 on each of these guys. Burden is, such a talent. Could some team prefer him? Yes.
I think people should watch more ball if they think Jalen Royals is better than Matthew Golden. I'm gonna be real. Let me
that one's a tough one.
Let me be the old man. Let me be the old man crank here.
Please.
Golden was a productive but injured player at Houston. Then he transferred to a top 5 team that played multiple college football playoff games and was like their most effective playmaker, particularly after Bond. What did he do? Bond did something to his ankle, and he was also. Let me fact check myself on this, but I'm pretty certain that he was also a pretty strong returner, which we know that he was. He was a really good punt returner and scored 2 kick return touchdowns his sophomore season, which is something that we know lends credence to. That was one of the Percy Harvin big things. Is Percy Harvin was like a crazy good returner. That was an old John Moore RotoViz thing, that punt and kick returns for wide receivers are predictive. But basically, look, man, I get Higgins and Noel are like fun and they produced and stuff, but this is to me kind of borders on like rage bait type stuff.
That's what someone else Jack called it. Yeah, this is rage bait.
It's unserious because it's unserious both in terms of how NFL teams will view them, and it's unserious based on what they did in high leverage spots. Matthew Golden got open on 4th and 14 to win his team a college football playoff game while Jaden Higgins was, getting down to 218 so he could run a good 40 for the combine. I just think it's unserious.
Yeah, I mean, Golden has some real kind of red flags in his profile, but
for sure,
if you zoom out, it's
everybody in this class.
He's a 3-year guy. He's going to get drafted in the first round. By the way, if we're trying to predict that at this point, if you just want to try to predict, if you're going to use one source, I would at this point recommend grinding the mocks, which has, but really only kind of through like the first 50 picks. But Golden is got an expected draft position of 18.6. That's 5 spots behind Tet, but it's ahead of Burden. Burden's at 26.9, Egbuka 24.3. He's not like a mortal lock for the first rounds, but something like this. This is not telling us what the league thinks of this. We have other sources for
right.
Mm-hmm. Even if you're trying to say I want to try to take the mock draft universe to have me tell me what the league is going to do. There's other ways to do that, and I would recommend grinding the mocks for that exercise. But yeah, I think I'm not even a big Golden guy, and I assumed I would have him wide receiver 3 following the draft capital. I'm not. I'm gonna have him behind Egbuka, but I am gonna have him ahead of Burden because of the draft capital, and because I do think he does a thing well. Let me share this. I'll share this chart, which is going to be in my wide receiver article, because I think. Let's see. I got to remove this. My bad. All right.
I just realized the dude on the right didn't rank Egbuka at all.
Okay,
well, that's what I was saying. He's not in the top 10, which that I blew my mind. But
that's wild.
Which as a hater, I appreciate. But continue, Pat.
No, I need to see this now. So
I'm a big Sam fan.
Jimmy Horn Jr. Sure, totally, dude. Jimmy Horn Jr. Totally.
All right.
Who is Jimmy Horn Jr.?
He plays for Colorado.
He's like Colorado's wide receiver 4.
Can we let people have their own opinions? Damn. Honestly, I mean, Egbuka not in your top 10 is an opinion I'm not going to have.
Look, I mean, I think it's.
I'm going to talk about that one.
I think it's something that we should flag because it's interesting. But I appreciate people are trying to do different things with all this, right? And I actually really like that we have people in the space that don't try to herd and they don't incorporate draft capital and they aren't worried about occasionally looking silly. Because obviously, Aristotle is just clearly correct. The wisdom of the crowds will always be on aggregate better than the wisdom of one individual man, but not in every single case, right? That has to be aggregated. So I think it does a service to everybody to have people willing to stand on an island and be like, hey, this is my take. And that doesn't mean necessarily that then you just ignore everything else and you're like, I'm willing to bet it all on this guy who has Emeka Egbuka wide receiver 11. But I think it's generally useful if we don't just get funneled into one specific thing.
Amen.
But you just have to understand the point of what you're reading, right? So it's if this is just 2 guys being I watched the tape and I looked at the numbers, and these are my thoughts. And like that is cool. But it's not necessarily, and I don't think they would say this is how I would rank everybody to go take them in your fantasy draft today. Like, so
Right.
it's a totally different objective.
And you have to say about Sam and Steve, like they put in a lot of work. This is not just somebody posting a list. They are on their podcast hour and a half a day. So
I just want to share this with Golden because he's an interesting prospect where his yak stuff, he's got 40% of his career yak came behind the line of scrimmage. And like it accounts for a decent chunk of what he did. And so that's actually like a red flag in my mind. There's like kind of gadget player red flags. And then you look at him producing yak actually on downfield targets. It's not that impressive, but he draws targets downfield. Like where did he actually produce yards at the top here? 31% on intermediate, 35% on deep targets, 17 to 20 yards a game on those targets. So he does a thing at the NFL level that translates. He can draw targets 10 plus yards downfield. He doesn't add a ton of yak. At least he didn't in college on those targets. If you want yak, you kind of got to feed him underneath a little bit more. So it is kind of like a little bit Jalen Royalsy in that sense, but I think he can actually add more in the intermediate area of the field. The funny thing about Gold, someone called him high floor or low floor, high ceiling. I think he might be low floor, kind of middling ceiling. That's my issue with Golden is that I'm not sure
not if he's actually 4.2940.
No, that I don't think that the 40 is.
No one thinks he
really
plays
that
like
indicative
that,
of ceiling, and no one thinks that he plays like that either. But like to me, the ceiling on him is more. I mean, I think Harmon mentioned Jordan Addison, and I think I've said Emmanuel Sanders before. Like he's like a
Sanders,
not necessarily like a Mike Wallace, like I just run go routes guy, but he's definitely like more of a secondary wide receiver who wins on like posts and deep crossers and stuff like that, which is
like Jordan Addison,
really valuable to the NFL. Yeah, exactly. Like Jordan Addison. Like, and it's like that's valuable to the NFL. Like Brandon Cooks is kind of a guy like this. Like, and it's like that's valuable, but I don't think it's that high of a fantasy ceiling because like I like really bought into like Ladd McConkey last year. And part of that was the targets per out run stuff that you could translate. But also part of that was like he won in a way that I think, despite people saying he was low ceiling, I think is wrong. Like he consistently just wins in like the intermediate areas of the field, like in like the 7 to 15 yards, which is like, that to me is a really high ceiling. That's how you get 10 catches for 120 yards on loop. And that's how you become Amon-Ra or Cooper Kupp. Golden's like a little bit deeper. So he's more of like a 4 for 80 and 1 type of guy, which is valuable, but I wonder how valuable. Like I feel like the ceiling on him, if it works out, is more like, I don't know, like maybe it's Chris Olave, maybe it's Jordan Addison. Like it's in that range.
Yeah.
He's going to be wide receiver 17.
So here's Egbuka, and this is where I was kind of like, is he low ceiling? Because like you look at the deep stuff, he's not going to produce deep. His deep targets were contested, and he didn't produce there. So like if you're counting on Egbuka to win deep, I'm sorry, but 39% of his career yards intermediate, 24 yards a game. He's adding yak on those plays. He's adding yak on short, intermediate, and somewhat behind the line of scrimmage as well. But you're actually like, he's generating yak and he's generating a ton of targets, intermediate area of the field, also produces short. I'm like, okay, this guy, like, he's limited in terms of the types of routes. Also, you look at Matt Harmon's charting. He's the third worst that he's charted so far on 9 routes. So like it all tells the same story. Like this dude is not going to beat you deep, even though he's actually, had a good 40. Everything lines up here that Egbuka is not going to, be a true downfield playmaker, but he can draw targets consistently, intermediate area, short area, and add after the catch. There's actually a pretty high ceiling with a player like that. Like if you can just consistently draw targets and you don't just fall down after. And if you're in a good offense, if you have a good quarterback, like that's ceiling. Like I don't need a guy who cares what the safeties are doing when I'm playing fantasy. I don't need to like stretch the field. I just need a guy to catch a bunch of balls and then produce a bunch of yards on those catches. And I think Egbuka has a ceiling. That's where I landed after kind of digging into it. I think he has a higher ceiling than Golden. I'll put it on that. I think he's a higher ceiling than Matthew Golden.
I think that
I know I dropped out and
go
sorry,
show.
Jacob. Sorry, I was going to say, I know I dropped out for a second, but was the point made about Golden 72%, 10 yards or less? Like, are we sure? First of all, Davis, he's a perfect bill because they don't throw the ball, past the line of scrimmage. But also, like, who's throwing the ball deep in the NFL? Like, are we going to see sort of
I hope we get back.
that?
I mean, that's so funny because that's kind of the understated element of all of this is like so much of this is like, well, are we going back to the dark ages of like, can we get some fun deep throws? Like, because Golden is a little bit less valuable if he is just going to be asked to be this like ground bound fancy Wan'Dale Robinson or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the thing is like what an NFL ceiling is and what a fantasy ceiling is very different. Like I think when in NFL circles, they talk about Egbuka as a lower ceiling player because what he does is not quite as valuable to an NFL team. Like it's easier to find those completions from inferior players. But for our purposes, whatever team he's on, he's going to be the one that's doing it because he's doing things that maybe don't have a super high degree of difficulty in an NFL offense, but the points count all the same. Golden is running routes down the field that I think probably do have a higher degree of difficulty that's more scarce, that costs more to acquire in free agency. That makes him maybe a higher ceiling bet in the NFL, but it's not fantasy. So I think when you translate these two things, things get lost. So I'll have a tier break between them. I have Egbuka tier ahead, and then I have Golden in a tier with Burden. And I've been very back and forth. I think I'm going to have Burden at 4 and Golden at 5, but I'm like 70-30 on that, to be honest.
Golden, I haven't finished Burden's write-up, but he's scared me the whole time. And I think he's the least likely to go first round of all. They're certainly less likely than Golden, but I think Egbuka has a better chance to go first round too. And the NFL cooling on Burden definitely worries me. Like, I mean, he was supposed to, like, we were supposed to be talking about, like, who are the Cowboys taking at 12, Tet or Burden? That's where
if you were in
conversation
Devy drafts
started.
and you had the 101, it was like, do you take Burden? Well, the big three was Jeremiah Smith and then Burden and Tet. Like those were the guys you're taking at the very top. So it's a big fall.
No one has Burden in their first round of those mock drafts. Hopefully, no. I'm hoping some team.
But a lot of that's off-field stuff, right? Which I mean, matters to us too, because
which actually doesn't make that much sense to me, because like Burden was like the hometown kid from St. Louis, and he stayed at Missouri, even though he could have gotten big NIL money to go to Alabama or Texas or Notre Dame or wherever. And he was like, no, like I want to stay with the guy who recruited me and stuff. I don't know. I obviously am the Burden apologist of the ship chasing cinematic universe, and I'm happy to wear that badge.
All right, well,
I'd be happy.
Good.
I'd be happy if the Chiefs took Burden. If the Chiefs took Burden, smash.
Look out. This is burying the lead, an hour and 32 minutes in. Tyreek Hill. Jacob, I mean, what did you know?
As an officer of the court, I have great relationships with law enforcement all across Turtle Island. And, sometimes I just get certain pieces of intel that I can't share exactly how I got them, but that allow me to make prescient predictions on ship chasing broadcasts.
Are we seeing, if you guys know, is he falling? You would think so.
He
I
is.
Believe no, he was going.
No.
He was bad last year.
He's not falling.
Price? I don't get it.
At least, look, the drafts that I've done since, he's gone much higher. He's gone like I don't know why. Maybe I'm just in
Everyone
weird
loves
drafts.
that, boy.
like I've seen him go like 202. Like I'm telling you, like
202
multiple drafts.
Oh, I have a theory about this. My theory is that he has so many different allegations over his career that people didn't realize that the second piece of news, which was like that this isn't a problem, was relating to a new allegation. So they think that like previous allegations were weighting down his costs, and those have now been resolved. So people are like, "Oh, this is wheels up for Tyreek Hill." That's my theory.
It's a theory.
I have not seen him fall. I think we took him, Davis, on Friday. We took him at like 206 or something. Or sorry, 306. 306.
Yeah, we got him in the third round.
Third round.
Okay.
Come on. You still got to take him.
No
there.
thanks. I don't.
Even with like 15% AB risk, he's a pick there.
Are the odds any different that he's on the Dolphins? Part of Jacob's thing was he might not even be on the team.
Jacob almost always has like a super well-reasoned, thoughtful argument, quotes Greek philosophers, and then we get to Tyreek at round 3, and I'm good. No, I don't have to take him.
I just I don't like drafting wide receivers who are 30 plus who look like they might be getting worse at a rapid pace, and then you add on legal problems, and I'm good. This was like the Cooper Kupp thing last year. It's like I wasn't taking him at all in the 3rd round, and then everybody was like, "You're a total lunatic if you don't take him in the 2nd round." I was like, "Well, I wasn't taking him in the 3rd, so I guess I won't take him in the 2nd, and we'll see what happens." And he got an injury that was totally his fault. I think that was settled on ship chasing last year. So,
seems reasonable enough.
Yeah, and easy to proceed.
That's settled law. Yeah,
great Sam Sherman once said.
Are the odds any different that he's on Miami today? Jalen Ramsey wants out.
Yeah, the Raiders.
What's going on in Miami?
Things are going well down there.
Apparently, the reporting is that the Raiders are in on Ramsey.
That sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good bit for them.
Well, if you missed the big news earlier, Pat will be appearing on Swolecast today with Davis. That was announced earlier today.
Yeah, that's it. That's in 90 minutes, Pat. I'll send you the StreamYard. Right.
Sounds good.
Get your offensive lineman.
I don't even have to do any prep. I've been doing so many.
Wow, what a compliment!
Mock drafts and stuff.
What a compliment!
I mean, it won't be.
He doesn't even have to prepare for it. Doesn't even need to. I'm just going to take a quick nap and then I'll jump on at 90 minutes.
I don't think they'll be offended.
Jacob, look for me tonight at Leafs Sabres.
Oh, nice. Well, the Leafs are playing to clinch the Atlantic Division for I think the first time. Well, the first time ever, the Atlantic Division, but the first time that they'll win whatever division they reside in. I believe since I was like 2 years old. So big night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Wish them the best.
Huge.
And hope you enjoy the game.
I sent Jacob pictures from my Friday in Toronto at the old Maple Leaf Gardens where they had the Grand Slam of curling on the top floor of that old rink. What a place. Love going there. All right. Anything else you guys want to mention that you have coming up?
Wait, do we have to do the game? Do we do
last call?
We got to do last call.
I forgot about last call. I'm no excuses, but since I can't get on Underdog, I've just sort of disconnected from it.
Yeah, you were running
offbeat.
Although you are now keeping up the time-honored tradition of whoever is hosting ADP chasing gets rug pulled on being able, because Sam got rug pulled on being able to draft in Connecticut. So you are well,
he was in Maine. I think he rug pulled himself, didn't he?
All of New England is one.
I can't remember the direction. I can't remember if it was Connecticut to Maine or Maine to Connecticut, but one way or the other.
He was in Maine for the summer.
He pulled his own rug.
He pulled
I mean, no offense. Maine? Quote, Maine?
No, I know.
I mean, this is New York.
This is New York. I agree.
Yeah, no.
But I think we're going to be stuck all year. It sounds like there's a lawsuit. I think I'm going to be stuck all year. I don't know.
Get on the Amtrak, buddy.
Yeah, but I'm looking at properties in, not Maine. That's crossing that off the list. Okay. Anybody ready to start? Last call. ADP 200 or higher. Go.
Yeah.
You go first, Jacob.
All right. Well, I posted my big running back article. So all my rookie running back thoughts are now on Thinking. And one of the dudes, sleeper, that's probably going to amount to nothing, but that I'm a lot higher on, Jarquez Hunter. Lights up spreadsheets, really high missed tackles, forced ratings, really incredible breakaway runner. And then I think most important is that he plays without gloves, which is just so cool. That's like a big baller sign for me personally. And so Jarquez Hunter, probably going to be like a healthy scratch for the entire best ball playoffs, but like him, so I'm going to plant my flag early just in case he gets drafted a little earlier than projected.
All right. And that means we can't take him. He's yours.
Have I already taken Jalen Milroe? Do we have the list up?
No.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one. I
be-
don't think you have.
Jalen Milroe, if the goal of the game is points added to a roster weeks 15, 16, and 17.
I think we're like
not
doing it like
really-
a best ball roster. Is
Yeah,
what
we
were
are.
talking about.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So
Fine, yeah.
give me Jalen Milroe. Also, as Tim notes, I don't think we discussed a single boring player. So
No, that's right. That's right. We haven't
yeah, we
defined
will-
boring yet today.
we will have to edit
Oh,
the,
yeah, that was
the
the
title.
show.
We
In
will
that
have to-
particular sense,
Potter, good value.
in that
These
particular
players are
sense,
so
we have not
boring.
defined
We're
boring.
not even going to talk about them. They're not even worth our time.
This is actually wrong. We talked about Shedeur Sanders for like an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
We talked about the Saints.
Shut up.
Imagine a podcast doing that. All right, Pat.
Put Vinny Testaverde.
I didn't realize this player was even outside the 200. He's been kind of floating around there, I guess. But I will go ahead and take Damian Martinez, rookie running back out of Miami.
Is he after?
He's outside the top 200.
I've got him at 205.7 here on my sheet.
Wrong. 178.9.
That's what I have too.
Oh, I'm on DraftKings. I'm on DraftKings.
Oh, the classic mistake. Classic mistake.
You'll have to circle back.
I'll go.
Sorry.
I'll go. Because we're building teams, and I'm going to get frozen out at quarterback. And I kind of a couple weeks ago said I made a case for why I'm drafting this player. So it's definitely kind of raunchy, but I'll just take Russell Wilson. I do think like a pretty.
I don't know if I'd describe it as raunchy.
All right, call it something else.
You call it Sierra.
I know what you're going for. I'd go scrappy. I think probably versus, but I get the general sense of what you're going
gross
for.
is what I was going for.
Gross.
It's gross.
I see.
But
Rancid, perhaps.
Rancid.
That's
all right.
better. Rancid.
You guys can figure that out. But for like quarterbacks are going
would maybe kind of split the difference between rancid
it's
and
spicy.
I think the likeliest season for the Giants is they win like 7 games and he stays on the field. And so I'm not going to have a quarterback. You guys are taking them all. Dart went in this thing. Rodgers went. Milroe went today. So I need somebody.
Is Frederick C. Kitchens the fourth still on staff there?
I don't think so.
All right.
Are we back to passing game coordinator?
He was old regime.
He was old regime. All right.
Wow, he actually has the funniest possible job.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
No person.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Corinne, what would be the single funniest job Freddie Kitchens could possibly have? There's nothing funnier than this.
It's so good.
He is I'll give you a hint. It's a college football job. It's not a professional football job. He's not a head coach. The single funniest college football job he could have.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
About this? Is it a better gig than Max Crosby's?
Yes.
Yes.
He's a head coach. Freddie Kitchens is a head
coach. No, he's
not a head
coordinator.
coach.
He's a coordinator.
No looking at the comments.
I don't know.
He is the offensive coordinator for the University of North Carolina under Bill Belichick. I mean, you literally cannot find something funnier.
Joe Judge wasn't available for that one. He was not available, apparently.
That is good.
Apparently, he was on Mac Brown's staff already at North Carolina, and then Belichick took the job and was like, "We got a diamond in the rough. I'm promoting him to offensive coordinator."
Yeah, young talent.
Young
talent.
He was the interim head coach for the Tar Heels in the Fenway Bowl last year.
The Fenway, wow.
The Fenway Bowl is what? That was a game? That was a bowl game?
Yeah,
it
it's
used to
a
be
bowl game that takes place at Fenway Park.
Because they do the Pinstripe Bowl, so the Red Sox are like, "Come on, man, we need our own."
Sure.
Yeah. North Carolina lost by 13 to the University of Connecticut.
Tough.
So
2 basketball schools playing football in a baseball park.
Tough scenes. Yes, that's right.
I've got my spreadsheets here. One's for DraftKings, one's for Underdog. I was on the wrong one, and that's where
we know.
Yeah. So now being on the right one is just bumming me out because Underdog's done a much better job of pricing these guys up.
Plus Russ is gone.
Plus Russell Wilson's gone. So what's the point? Plus I've already grabbed Harold Fannin. I think I already took Will Shipley. So I'm gonna take another rookie running back, but one that's much less likely to have an impact than Martinez. But I'll take Jordan James, who I do think is still live for a pretty solid draft.
I want to say I already took him, which is fine. I think
you?
in the rules of this game.
Did you?
I think it's okay.
No, we can't. We can't double dip.
Not okay.
It's not
double dipping.
I think I took him. Obviously we need Zach to have the list up. So
I'll take
why don't
Trevor
you just
Etienne if James.
I was
going
to say do a contingent pick if he's gone.
Okay.
I know, but he's both guys are bets on draft capital. So Etienne's probably the better bet on draft capital. I actually like James's profile a little bit. He's like that Egbuka thing where it's like, hey, he totally sucks at this thing, breakaway runs in this case, but he's really good at this other thing. So in that case, he's like a really consistent back, and that all the tape evaluators tend to agree with that. So I'll take James if available. If not, I'll take Etienne, who I think probably goes 3rd or 4th round.
If James is available, you get first crack at Etienne next week if you want him to, since you mentioned his name. Otherwise,
I don't.
Of course, we would all be preying on that information.
Fine by me.
Yeah. I don't really like him that much, but before the draft, I feel like it makes sense to bet on draft capital. Still have that out.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Ship Chasing on Thursday. The draft is next Thursday. We'll be back Tuesday next week to, last call for our takes on what will happen in the real draft next week. For Jacob, Davis, and Pat, I'm Mike. Thanks for being a part of ADP Chasing today. See you next time.